Hey everyone, I want to welcome you, George. Thank you so much for joining us today on Tales from the Trails. If you don't mind introducing yourself and tell us about what company you work for and what your role is in that company.
Sure. Hi, Kat. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here today. Yes, I'm George Burton. I'm the founder of Proco. We are a new ESG-focused sales intelligence app for Salesforce.
So for our listeners who might not know what ESG is, do you mind giving us a little bit more insight on what it is?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure your audience will have heard references to ESG increasingly over recent months. And really, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And really, it's a way of thinking about a business's risks and opportunities relating to those three areas. These include the inputs to the business, so where the company gets its resources, where in the world it's operating, the suppliers that it works with, through to the outputs of the business. So what happens with the product or solution that they provide? What's the impacts to the environment and society of that company operating and doing business? So I guess an example would be a company with high ESG risk would be a company that has a high proportion of greenhouse gas emissions resulting from its operations and the way it produces its products or services. And conversely, a company with a low ESG risk would be a company that uses a lot of renewable energy, that uses the water in the local area where it's based responsibly. And yeah, those are some examples to hopefully help your audience think about it.
Awesome. Okay, so you have this amazing product on the Salesforce AppExchange called Proco, which is the sales intelligent app. Can you dive a little bit deeper about your product?
Sure, absolutely. So what we do, we aggregate environmental, social, and governance or ESG data on companies from multiple sources. We then aggregate that and then we deliver that to our users. Our first product is an app for Sales Cloud. And the idea is that we give our salespeople, who are our customers, extra insight on their customers and in particular what their needs are based on this data.
Awesome. Okay, so you mentioned that your first users are sales people. That helps with lead generation. What does that even mean to be a sales rep in this industry? Can you let us know about that?
Yeah, sure. ESG is quite a broad church, for want of a better word. I'm sure your audience have possibly heard more references to it in the news, in the media, across LinkedIn, progressively in recent months and years. And I think that's testament to increasing interest in the area. And that's driven largely by regulators and investors encouraging companies to improve their ESG performance. And so what that means for a salesperson is that they can take advantage of this information to better understand even more about their customers and in particular customers' needs. So one example of a company we're currently in talks with is an energy company, and they are looking to use Proco to find customers that have made net zero commitments, and they want to use our tool to find how those companies are performing and whether they can sell their renewably generated electricity to those customers to help them achieve their goals. So in short, ESG, as I say, is a pretty broad church. It appeals to lots of salespeople in lots of different industries, and that's why we find it so exciting.
Yeah, that's great. So how does Proco's solution align with businesses in the hospitality industry?
Yeah, I guess similar to the previous question, in theory, ESG appeals to basically most businesses. A use case in the hospitality industry would be, let's take a Hilton or a Four Seasons, one of these massive global international hotel chains. Because these companies are so large, they tend to have investors and a greater deal of scrutiny compared to smaller companies. And what that means is that they are feeling the pressure to improve their ESG performance today. And so any vendor looking to transact with those business would find it beneficial to position their solutions in a way that reduces their customers' ESG risk. So let's take Four Seasons, for example. Let's say their investors are pressurizing them to improve their waste management, so less stuff to landfill, more recycling, more reusing of materials. A salesperson working at a relevant company selling recycling services, for example, could take advantage of this ESG data by saying, hey, look, we realized you're currently struggling in this aspect of your business, and in particular in relation to your competitors. Let's try and help you with that, and let's help you become more competitive in this aspect of your business.
Wow. So I have to ask, what made you want to get started in the ESG industry? Was it something that you've always had a passion for?
Yeah, sure. I guess it's a $1 million question, right? In terms of
Yeah.
why take the entrepreneurial leap. So I guess go way back, I've always been quite passionate and curious about the environment more generally. I was very lucky enough as a child to have some pretty cool experiences in nature. And that's been a kind of long-term thing for me throughout my life. And then more recently in 2020, in the lockdowns here in the UK, there wasn't a great deal to do, to be honest. And I took that time to educate myself a bit on personal finance, investment themes. And whilst I was doing that across various articles, blogs, audiobooks, this keyword ESG kept popping up again and again. And for me, the more I read into this space, the more I found it pretty exciting. And for me personally, yeah, maybe quite hopeful. And so the more I learned, the more I got excited about it. And the more I decided, wow, this data is fantastically important and valuable. But currently it's only being used by financial services professionals, people working in pension funds, investment banks. And because it covers the performance or how a business operates, that information is useful to more business stakeholders than just the status quo. And as I've worked in sales before, yeah, Proco is, without boring your audience to tears, Proco is the next logical step in that journey.
That's great. So what made you want to choose Salesforce as a platform to build out your product on?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, first of all, it's the world's #1 CRM by market share. Yeah, more than 100,000 companies worldwide of various sizes trust Salesforce as their basically business brain. So that's a really credible and trusted environment to build our business in. But there's also other aspects to it. Salesforce has one of its five values, or two of its five values are equality and sustainability, which really align with our mission at Proco to help the world become more ethical and sustainable faster. So there's a nice, mutual alignment, I suppose, there. And then I guess in terms of our users, our approach is really all about, rather than asking our users to learn a brand new standalone piece of software, we want to make it easy for them by building an extension to how they already work. So they don't have to sit through hours and hours of training. It's plug in and play.
Wow, that's great. As you mentioned, this is a plug and play solution. Are
No
there
problem.
any challenges that a customer might face implementing Proco? So would there be something that the users would need to think about before plugging it into their Sales Cloud?
Sure. At the moment, as you say, we're a plug and play product available in the AppExchange. So its setup is relatively easy. However, we would really recommend to our customers that they have good data hygiene in their Salesforce, because that really gives them the best results.
Awesome. So I'm assuming that you guys use Salesforce internally, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, great. Yeah. So how are you guys using it internally? Are you guys on Sales Cloud, or what clouds are you guys using for Proco?
Yeah, sure. So we use a souped up version of Sales Cloud, for want of a better term. It's called a partner business organization. Some of your audience might be familiar with it, but basically it's Sales Cloud plus specific apps that help us manage Proco as an AppExchange partner. And yeah, we love it basically.
Good. That's great. So this is our last question, but what's new? I mean, are you guys planning on launching any new products in the next 12 months? What's the future for Proco?
Yeah, so we are pretty much brand new. We're a baby in the ecosystem. The current version in the AppExchange was only released in May of this year. So at the moment, we're collecting early customer and advisory feedback, which is great. And that's helping us to shape the roadmap and our product roadmap in the best way possible. At the end of, I don't want to promise specific dates, but in the very near future, next couple of weeks, we are releasing our next version of the Salesforce app. Which will be lighter, leaner, more data, faster, which is really exciting. And also simultaneously, we'll be releasing our first API product, which will give our customers more flexibility for how they use our data across Salesforce. At the moment, we're quite a small team. We're trying to really nail our first value proposition, which is the Sales Cloud Sales Intelligence solution. But yeah, from there, the sky's the limit, really. I guess our core ethos is to get this really powerful data and have it enriching people's working lives in as many ways as possible. So yeah, we'd gladly welcome any ideas, any feature suggestions from the Banjaxed audience.
That's great. Thank you so much, George, for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers, Kat.
All right. Bye-bye.